Even after biting cold and rain had killed millions of monarch butterflies, millions more arrived despite concerns that fewer numbers would return on the annual southward migration to Mexico. But an unusually long and severe winter in North America appeared to delay some of the butterflies' northern returns. Between October 27 and November 5, butterflies descended upon a 250-kilometre-long area, just 10 million fewer than in the previous year. Each year, millions of monarch butterflies migrate more than 4,000 kilometres from Canada in order to hibernate in the tropical forests of the central Mexican state of Michoacan. However, severe freezing killed some 65 million a few years before this was taken. The butterfly's migration, which some scientists say could be in its 5th generation, has fascinated many researchers. Some have speculated that the butterfly could depend on the sun in order to find its way in this annual migration. Snakes are perhaps the most revered of reptiles among people all over the world, but a resident of India's northern Lucknow city opened a clinic exclusively for this venomous creature. Syed Hasnain Abdi said as a young boy he was pained to see snakes being killed or tamed by snake charmers and decided to open a clinic where he could treat them. He says the most astonishing fact about a snake is that it inspires extreme emotions of hate or reverence. But Faiz says he is only interested in their preservation. He said there is a need to open a research centre for snakes. In India, snakes, especially cobras, are worshipped and respected as gods, since in Hindu mythology, snakes adorned the neck of Lord Shiva, god of destruction and preservation. In some cases, they are also associated with fertility and the welfare of mankind. Snake charming is one of the age-old professions of India. And for many tribes living in the remote parts of the country, snake charming continues to be the only source of livelihood. Sadly though, the snakes are often kept in wicker baskets where they do not survive for long. The government has now put a ban on the catching of snakes. It was a party atmosphere in London's Trafalgar Square where they were launching World Parrot Day. The event, though, had a more serious purpose, that being to highlight the issue of illegal trade in endangered parrots. It is a huge problem. For the birds, it drives them to extinction, and in some cases for people who have the birds here in Europe, because many of them carry bad diseases. According to experts, 99 species of parrots are now listed as globally threatened, and half of those are specifically threatened by illegal trading. The biggest market for parrots is the European Union, and it's hoped the ban will spur action in the European Union into considering keeping it in place. The campaign has the support of leading British illustrator Quentin Blake, famous for his drawings in Roald Dahl's books. Later, a petition with hundreds of signatures of those who want greater protection for parrots was delivered to number 10 Downing Street in the hope action will be taken to stamp out the illegal trade in parrots. Song of the Whale is a unique sailing ship, specially built to travel quietly through the sea, without disturbing or harming whales or other marine mammals. She is the International Fund for Animal Welfare's pride and joy, and the 21-metre ship was launched at a press conference at St Catherine's Dock in London. Her aim is to study whales without upsetting the ecological balance. Song of the Whale has been designed to operate in any ocean of the world. She will travel under sail wherever possible, but when mechanical power is required, the engine, generators, propeller and exhaust have all been built to reduce noise and minimise any disturbance to whales. The propeller is also fitted with a deflector guard to reduce risk of injury. The International Fund for Animal Welfare has more than 2 million supporters worldwide. Song of the Whale replaces a smaller vessel that had been in use for over 20 years. IFAW says it is at the forefront of the welfare and conservation of sea life, particularly the whale. It wants to ensure that pictures like these will be there for generations of humans to appreciate and not to abuse. Adalberto Pizarrios cries out while he stares at the emerald waters of the Playa Linda Reserve along the Ixtapa beach, some 250 kilometers south of Mexico's tourist hotspot, Acapulco. Slowly, crocodiles up to 5 meters long emerge from the water, heeding his call. The reptiles surround Pizarrios, who has become Mexico's answer to Australia's crocodile hunter, hired to ensure that the animals do not escape the reserve. He says the Tarzan-like scream is like a referee's whistle, which invites the players, as in the crocodiles, to gather around him. Tamukan, who is blind in one eye, rewards his loyal crocodiles with loads of fresh fish, as tourists ask him to be careful. Visitors to the park often gaze in amazement as Tamukan lies across the backs of the crocodiles while they eat. He receives about $317 a month. He entertains tourists and stops the crocodiles from fleeing the reserve. Ixtapa residents' main source of income is tourism, and Tamukan's crocodiles are a major attraction. Of the 80 crocodiles that live in the reserve, Tamukan, a name he chose for himself, has raised 47. He says he realizes that he could communicate with animals early on in his life. He started grabbing all kinds of animals, and they didn't bite him. And now he wants to broaden his horizon and swim with the reptiles, but says he needs a clean place to do it so the crocodiles can recognize him. Because he's such a popular figure, local authorities are considering moving the animals to a new area, giving Tamukan a new site to perform his new act. A German pensioner has adopted a female stork and her 2 young ones, feeding the birds a breakfast of dead hen chicklets in his garden every morning after the father stork was electrocuted in a thunderstorm. With his binoculars, the 65-year-old regularly observes Adele and the 2 young storks who are learning to fly. He says he has already become an expert on the birds' behaviour. The family of storks live on top of an old factory chimney near the home of Gert Breitenbach in Nagelstadt in eastern Germany. Since the stork's father Jacob was killed, stork Adele flies down to the pensioner's garden for breakfast. And the stork family seems to like the special treatment. Even before Jacob's death, Adele and Jacob shunned the long flight to Africa, which occurs in November, and made their way to a nearby zoo instead to stay for the winter. Caterpillars have infested tens of thousands of poplars in South Beijing. They're crawling everywhere, looking for more food. Stripped naked of their leaves, these poplars barely survived the recent scourge of the caterpillar infestation. A swarm of these greedy insects descended on the woods in the southern outskirts of Beijing and have eaten all they could. Tens of thousands of trees have lost their leaves to the grub. These poplars had been planted a few years before as part of a campaign to turn Beijing into a greener city. This at a time when the Chinese capital was fighting increasingly more sandstorms. Authorities hoped the trees would consolidate loose earth in a green belt around the city, but then gave up on this kind of poplar tree because their spring seed, flying everywhere in big white fluffs, soon became a nuisance. Abandoned with no one coming round to spray insecticide, the young trees were quickly infested with the caterpillars of moths. China regularly faces pests like these that destroy entire crops in a short amount of time, with locusts being the most common plague in the country's north. Residents in grub-infested South Beijing have tried out a number of ways to kill the caterpillars, burning and drowning them, but they failed to get rid of them completely. Dog owners in Western Japan, tired of doggy odour and the arduous attempts to get rid of it, can now enjoy this bathing system that will save them the work and the mess of splashing in the tub. It is a dog laundromat that is opened adjacent to an ordinary laundromat in Toyaoka, and residents have been flocking to this laundromat to wash not just their clothes, but their dogs as well. Laundromat owners place the dog inside the bright red washer with a large glass window and turn the machine on. Jets of warm water followed by soapy water and then warm water again bathe and massage the smells, fleas and ticks away. After the washing is done, warm air swirls throughout the cubicle, which dries the canine customer. The result is a sweet-smelling, fluffy dog. Most dogs, even if they resist being put into the washer, resign themselves to their fate once the water starts. Takayoshi, who washes about 10 dogs a day in his machine, says that their dogs don't smell for a month. But some dogs, like this golden retriever named Sakura, do not seem to agree with the bath business. While owners claim to be delighted with the convenience of this dog laundromat, some of the pets seem to be frighteningly eager for their ordeal to end. Aquariums across Malaysia have a new star in their waters. The flowerhorn fish is the latest marine creature considered auspicious by the Chinese. The fish can be found at coffee shops, retail outlets and private residences as fish breeders cash in on this trend and the demand from enthusiasts. The tropical fighting fish is about a foot long and has a strange, beautiful marking on its body that some enthusiasts say resembles Chinese characters or numbers. They also say the fish is very tame and can be petted and caressed by its owners. For the public, the only unusual feature would be its hump on its head, making it look somewhat like a Boeing 747 aircraft. It has become so popular that no aquarium in Malaysia is complete without a stock of the flower horn, since it was crossbred by some enthusiasts some years ago. Urban legends also abound about how lucky this fish is, with reports of owners striking lotteries. The flowerhorn fish is also very affordably priced, making it the most sought-after tropical fish in Malaysia, Singapore and Hong Kong. Flowerhorn fish fans say as it grows, it develops markings on its colourful body. These markings change with age, and enthusiasts say words and numbers sometimes appear. Enthusiasts also say this fish is popular because in 2 million out of 2 million, you would never find one fish the same as the other. There are no twin fish. They are absolutely unique, according to aquarium owner C.V. Chia. And it is intelligent, as it shows affection for its owner, not unlike a cat or a dog. They will not purr or bark, but they definitely like a pat on the head. This is possibly the strangest looking member of the pig family. And the barbaroussa is also the most endangered. A survey in 1978 determined that less than 4,000 of these tusked pigs were left in the wild. In its home region, the tropical rainforests on the Indonesian island of Sulawesi, the animals are threatened by habitat destruction and overhunting. Bunta is not very old, but seemed pretty excited to be outside, playing near her mother while chewing on a husk of corn. The animal's litters tend to be small, just 1 to 3 babies, and breeding in captivity has not always been successful. Bunta is female, and zoo officials are very excited by this prospect. The barbaroussa is one of about a dozen species of wild pigs that are scattered across Africa, Europe and Asia. The most striking feature is its face. Besides being armed with a pair of slashing lower tusks, males sport a pair of upper tusks which erupt through the top of the snout and curve back towards the eyes. These upper canines resemble antlers more than they do tusks, thus the name barbaroussa, pig deer. Their purpose remains something of a mystery, but it's thought to have something to do with courtship rivalry displays. Caged up, exhausted, and nowhere to go, these 17 circus lions in southern India are looking for a home. The former crowd pullers were among hundreds of animals freed by circus owners after the country's apex court banned live performances by wild animals. Supported by their owner for over 2 years, they were finally brought to Benragatta, a rehabilitation centre 30 kilometres from Bangalore. The age of the 10 male and 7 female lions ranges from 10 to 25 years. These lions cannot be released into the wild as they were born in captivity. Banragatta is their only hope of survival, but the 30-acre reserve, the only one of its kind in India, is already under immense pressure. There are over 200 animals staying here. Originally, it was meant to only house half that number. Officials say plans are underway to start rescue centres in 6 other states. But much of these plans remain on paper. Keepers at the London Zoo were contacted and asked if they would accept 4 red spitting cobras that had been confiscated as part of the illegal pet trade. The zoo has one of the biggest venomous snake collections in Europe and agreed to take them on. But handlers soon noticed they were different from other red spitters in the zoo's collection, noting contrasts in the scale pattern and coloration of the snakes. Years of research has now recognised an entirely new species. And the sign outside the snake's pen is being changed to reflect the new species, which is differentiated from the red spitting cobra by its throat and neck pattern and overall body colour. Naja pilada normally has a single broad dark band across the throat which encircles the body and crosses the neck. The rest of the body is uniformly dark red. The new species, Naya Nunbiar, has 2 bands across the neck, a distinct light throat area before the main throat band, and practically all specimens feature a small dark spot on each side of the throat. The rest of the body is dark brown. A clutch of 10 eggs was recently produced by the cobras, all of which hatched successfully. The tiny babies are miniature replicas of their parents, although with a different skin tone, and hatch complete with fully stocked venom glands and fangs capable of spitting. Researchers will begin their research with these babies, studying things like rate of growth, sex ratio, and other attributes that may distinguish it from other cobras. Founded in 1826, the Zoological Society of London is an international scientific conservation and educational charity whose key role is the conservation of animals and their habitats.